Hello, this is Stephanie J. Block, and you are listening to Broadway Podcast Network.
Hi, I'm Laura Benanti, and you're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network.
Hi, this is Alex Brightman, and I play Beetlejuice in Beetlejuice the Musical, and you're listening to Broadway Podcast Network.
Hi, I'm Norm Lewis, and you're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network.
Hello, I'm Salisha Thomas. I am so excited because the Broadway Podcast Network is doing a special episode for Valentine's Day and Black History Month. I've been waiting all year in conjunction with Black Hair in the Big Leagues, which is the podcast I host, and I couldn't be more thrilled to bring you Black girl magic, wrapped in love, melanin goodness, and just all of the things. I have gathered some of my favorite women from Beautiful on Broadway, from the dressing room that I shared while I was in the show. And we just love and miss each other so much. And we talk about all of the things. And it's so funny how when we're together, it's just like we're in the dressing room. So I hope you enjoy being a fly on the wall during this segment. And in the second segment, I have a special highlights from my interview with Brittney Johnson from Wicked on Broadway, first Black Glinda, and Ashley De La Rosa from Meangirls, who is Regina George, Black Regina George. And of course, both of them also were in Beautiful on Broadway. So I hope you enjoy this episode as much as I enjoyed talking to these amazing women, and just all of the love. Happy Valentine's Day. And also, I didn't even say it not once, that tomorrow is my birthday. All right, enjoy.
Hey y'all, what's up? It's me, Salisha. I'm so excited to see you guys. Like literally Black girl magic, melanin poppin'. My heart is so big to see you guys because first of all, I miss you. I miss you so much. And you all look so beautiful. We got Kris Roberts, we got Housso Semon, Gabrielle Elisabeth, Jessie Hooker Bailey, and TyNia Brandon in the house who just shaved her head.
Amazing. And looks fierce.
Yeah. Can we talk about this?
Yeah.
It looks amazing.
Tell us everything.
Tell us everything.
It's something that I had been wanting to do for a really long time. Like I had thought about it. I think Housso, I might have talked to you about it at some point.
Yeah.
But I don't know. My hair has been a lot of different ways over the years. Like when I posted it on Instagram, I was like, just like every other Black woman I know, like the hair has always been a journey. Yeah. But I felt like now is a good time to just kind of start over, start fresh. You know, I'm still, for, the whole COVID situation, I've been home with my parents, and I was talking to my mom about it, who was absolutely against it. But I realized too, like her generation just has like a different idea of like
absolutely
what's acceptable and what's feminine and everything.
Right.
So it took some convincing, but ultimately I looked at her and I was like, I'm not asking you your permission, right? Like,
right.
I'm just giving you warning that this is what I'm gonna do, and I hope you support me in this. And thank you. I still love myself.
Hi, that is so powerful, and it is feminine. You look feminine, like you look beautiful.
Thank you. I feel feminine. I really love it. It's just a new hairstyle to me,
I feel like it's so freeing and liberating and makes me want to I want to play.
It's funny too. It's funny. So many women have said to me like, "Oh, I could never I don't know if my head will look right." And I was like, "Well, I didn't know what my head looked like underneath it either." But
Isn't that amazing how much power hair has over us, though? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because they even say when a woman is about or has like a crisis or something crazy is happening in their life, they do something to their hair. Now, what happens when you just strip that completely away? And I guess I know what happens because TyNia is going through it. You feel liberated. So I think that's
it's empowering.
Awesome.
I think it's such, watching you and you post about it and just talking about it now, it is funny how much control it has. And not to bring up the Free Britney movement. But
No,
truly,
yeah.
that was like something in that documentary that they talk about, you know, she shaved her head and everyone's like, she's crazy. And her reaction when it was happening was like, I don't want anyone to touch
me.
I'm doing it because I don't want to have any control over me. So it's cool to hear your story, Ty, and be like, I just wanted to do it. I wanted to do it for a while. And like what it can all mean. It's neat in any woman's journey.
Right.
Absolutely.
And why is femininity attached to our hair? You know, like why is that what's feminine?
I don't know. Like who decided like long
A
hair?
man.
Yeah.
I think that it's like really a trend that's like coming out. So like it was the trend to have straightened hair, to have relaxed hair, whatever. And so that's why it was so radical to have the natural hair movement. And I think we've done it, but there are still those who are getting into it. And I think that the next trend is this shaved head look. And I think the reason why people have such a problem, or Black women that have had a problem becoming natural, feel that, oh, it's not feminine because straight hair is feminine, etc. And it's this whole thing. And so it's kind of the exact same thing with the bald head movement, where it's like just the perception that's not feminine, like it's the exact same perception. But like some people say, oh, I could never do that. A lot of people said that about going natural. I could never do that. Like, so wow. I think once everybody realizes, TyNia, you're on the forefront of this trend, like you're
right.
a trendsetter now. Like once everybody realizes like, oh, you can be bald and beautiful, that still makes you feminine. That doesn't take away your womanhood, your femininity.
Wow.
I think we're going to see more of a wide range of that. People are going to feel really powerful shaving off their head. And it's not going to signal like, what you're saying, Jessie, like a breakdown. It's going to signal power and control and, loving yourself. And I think that when you can love yourself bald, like that's the epitome of like absolute self-love.
Yeah.
We also saw that.
You can love yourself with any hair.
Exactly.
That's real. And we saw that even in Black Panther.
Right.
I think that definitely helps set this forward.
I think like
really
go on, Housso.
I was saying it's like more about taking your power back. And it's like, no, this is my hair. I'm cutting my hair because it's my hair.
Yes.
And I think with straight hair, it wasn't really about like femininity. It was about,
fitting into the culture.
Being kept. Black natural hair is not kept.
Right.
So people wanted to look presentable.
That's
and
real.
I think it's so sad. It's so sad that we're told that our hair is like
unruly.
How dare you?
Right.
How dare you? It grows out of me naturally. You're gonna tell me it's not it? Get out of here.
I also think it's very powerful that like no matter how we wear our hair, us wearing our hair with our hair out like this is a statement. It is like asking for attention. Jessie, you taught me. You're like, this is like, embrace your curls. All the things I'm like, oh, and it feels like all eyes on me. And it's such a like, it feels revolutionary to wear my hair natural. It feels revolutionary that Ty, you've shaved your head, but there is power. There's power in all.
And you know what I've learned through all of this too, Salisha? Just because it's unfamiliar to some people doesn't mean it's unacceptable. And that's with natural hair too, no matter whether it's big and defying gravity or long, luscious curls. Like Jessie over here, those curls fall perfectly.
They pop in.
It's been a journey. And that's what I mean. I felt like by the time Salisha was going through what she was going through, I had come to a point of like finally loving my hair. But yeah, I grew up around a lot of white girls that their hair laid down. I was the unkept one, and my curl pattern is all different and crazy. And I've come to this place now where I love it. But yeah, it's funny how we let other people tell us what's right.
Mm-hmm.
But really no, I love all pieces of me. And you know what's crazy is it's like hair is dead. It's just like it can come and it can go and it can change it. Like, why are we so worried about it? Why do we? And Salisha, I remember saying to you, like all of this stuff, whether it's wigs, however you want to do it, if you love it, do it. But also like, who are we doing this for? Do it for yourself. Don't do it to impress anybody. Don't do it to, you know what I mean? Like, it just got to a point for me. I'm relaxing my hair in college and constantly straightening. What am I doing it for? Who?
This is the dressing room, y'all. This is the dressing room that inspired me. Like, this is, I'm so happy. Literally, this is so real. And I'm so glad that you guys are all here to share all your perspectives and stories. And so this is Black History Month. Am I right? Am I right?
Hey.
I'm like so excited. You know they gave us the shortest month, right? Okay, I've got a question for you guys. Oh, actually, let's start with, what is your favorite thing about Black History Month? Anybody, go.
You know what? The Black inventors. I saw somebody like tweet the other day like that Jordan Peele should do like a horror movie about like 28 days of going without Black contributions or like Black inventions or something like that.
That's pretty brilliant.
And I was like, that is an amazing idea. So, and right now I'm teaching at the Jewish Community Center in my hometown. So all the kids that I teach are little white children. Mm-hmm. And so I've been like doing different activities with them every day. And we just covered like Black inventors, and they're like, a Black man invented the toilet? A Black person invented the hairbrush?
Stop sign.
Like, yeah, you can thank Black people for a lot of stuff.
What if like even add that up a step further? Everything that like Black people did first that didn't get credit for it also went away. What would the world look like? What would our music?
What would our music look like?
Would we even have sound?
Right.
Oh, Lord.
I think my favorite thing about Black History Month is that we can celebrate Black excellence instead of Black trauma. Like, I saw something about that, and they were like, this is what we need to start teaching in schools. Like, the only Black history that kids learn is about slavery. And it's like, okay, but can we talk about the people who are doing great things, the people who have achieved, why does it always have to be reliving this Black trauma over and over? So I think that is really awesome about Black History Month, is that everybody just is filled with joy and filled with, wanting to share how amazing Black people are. And sometimes it's the only time that people listen. They're like, oh, right, it's Black History Month. Oh, right. Okay, let's do this, because they really want to be, woke.
Like they have to. Yeah. I feel like that's my favorite part, is the unabashedly like, hey, Black History Month. It's Black History Month.
Blackly black, everything black, black.
I'll piggyback off of that. My favorite thing are the memes. I love the memes. I live for the memes. I think they're hilarious. I think they're poignant. That's the word, right? Poignant. Yeah. And I love that.
Yeah, I love that a lot of people are educating others on their social media about Black history. Mm-hmm. Like Gab, you're doing that, and Shantea is doing that. Shantea is one of Salisha's best friends. And it's really cool to see. Yeah.
I love it. Okay. Here's a question for you. Are you, and there's no right or wrong, I'm literally just asking, are you a woman first? Or are you, and I know we've got mixed race in here, so I'm actually very interested to hear what you guys think. Are you a woman first, or are you a Black person first, or however you identify?
I say I'm a human first. I think that's what I would say. And then if I'm going from there, I'd say human, then I would say I'm a woman, then I'd say I'm a Black woman. That's the order I would go. Because I think, first off, race is a construct, but I won't get into that. and then at the beginning, I just think if we were all just really focused on being human, a lot of the issues and the problems that we face would melt away.
Right. I definitely identify more as a woman first. Like, for me, that like sisterhood, what I have in common with other women is important to me. And that's like, that just makes me feel really amazing. Whereas the spectrum of Black people is so varied that we have so many different experiences. So sometimes, I might not have that much in common with somebody else who looks like me. Whereas the global female experience has a lot of touch points that, that are all the same, that we can all relate to.
Yeah. I definitely think I'm Black first. I find that just because I think when people look at me, that's the first thing they think about. You know, they like, people will ask like, where are you from? Like, you know, even if you're visiting other countries, people will single you out for being Black. So I'm definitely Black first. And I have pride. I think I can have like commonalities with other women, but other women don't. There's something about looking at another Black person in a space of white people, and say in a room of all white women, and just looking at another Black person and just being like, I see you.
I see you.
You know? So I think Black first, woman second.
What about you guys? Ty?
I'm learning so much just with all of these answers. My instinct is similar to Gab's of like, I think this time for me has been so much about like, wow, we are all human beings. Like, what is the deal? Like, if we're talking about this summer and just this world, like that's what blows my mind the most is like, wow, like people don't look at people who look like me as human beings. There are people out there that are like, that's not a human. And that feels crazy to me. So for me, that's my first answer. But yeah, this whole time has been so interesting for me because in a room of white people, I am Black. In a room of Black people, I am Black. But everyone's going to have a different opinion about me and my skin tone and who my parents are. But I've always been told, like, you're a Black little girl. You have a white mom and a Black dad, and you're Black.
Something that you just said, Jessie, I saw this on Facebook. Somebody posted a meme thing. They were like, okay, they got 100 Black ants and 100 red ants and put them in a jar. And it was all fine and dandy, whatever. But then somebody shook the jar and then poured it out, and then all the ants killed each other. And the meme like questioned, well, the red ants weren't bad and the Black ants weren't bad. The question is, who shook the jar?
Wow.
Just gonna leave that out there.
Who shook the jar?
Who shook the jar?
That is really powerful, Salisha. And I feel like I've learned so much from what y'all just said too. Gabby, when you first answered, it's funny that's not even something I considered at first. Yeah. Although it's something that I feel like I should have considered maybe, or something that I should maybe ponder on a little more. And I guess my first instinct went to exactly where Housso said, like, oh, I'm Black first, because when people look at me, they see Black first, period. You know, so I don't, it's interesting. I definitely would say I identify as Black first, but in pondering my humanness and how people perceive me, I just don't think that human is the first thing that comes to mind, unfortunately. Mm-hmm.
That makes sense, though. I mean, it's the world that we live in.
Exactly. And, you know, I told Jessie recently about this documentary I just watched called Out of Darkness, and it touches on a lot of that. It's on Amazon Prime. You guys should watch it. It's really great. It's 3 hours, so it's a commitment.
3 hours?
That's like my jam.
It's a commitment. But it really challenges, you know, those thoughts as well, and encourages Black people to really, you know, form an identity of their own and create a culture and nationhood out of that identity. And that things like that make me proud to be Black and identify as Black first. You know?
Have you guys ever been in a predominantly white space and felt you could be your fullest, truest self?
Never.
No.
I want to add here. So I want to go to what Jessie said. And this is kind of what I said, is that like we all have extremely different experiences, because Jessie, growing up with a white parent and a Black parent, and you said that you were told your whole life, like, you're Black. And I had a white parent and a Black parent, an absent Black parent, growing up in a white world. And I was never told that I was Black. I literally did not even know that I was Black. I didn't know what Black was. Because my only reflection was looking at my mom, and I was like, oh, well, I guess I'm whatever she is. And everyone around me was white. I had no concept of race. Like, I did not realize that I was different. Like, nobody ever told me that. It was quite a while before I figured out that I was Black. And so for me, being in white space is a totally comfortable experience for me. And sometimes being in all Black spaces for me is uncomfortable because I feel like everybody knows something that I don't know. And everybody has a code that I missed out on. And
because there is a code.
There's
right.
a code.
Yeah. So that makes me feel uncomfortable sometimes. In fact, but actually the most comfortable that I am is in a space that is completely multiracial. Every race represented, where there is no singling out of any specific race. So that nobody, is saying like, oh, we're this, we're that, like this is the culture of this room or whatever. So I'm most comfortable in a space where race doesn't exist.
Wow. What about you guys? That's really powerful, Kris. It's especially because like out of context, that could be like, what? You didn't know you're Black? And then, but hearing a person's story really.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's so brave to share because, people, and everyone is coming from their own experience. So it is easy to be like, huh? But I can relate to some of that too, of like, I was told I was Black, but I was in a lot of white spaces. So I didn't even know. I'm looking back at my childhood now and going like, wow, Jessie, you've spent a lot of time trying to be white. And no one, I don't know if people were making me feel that way or if that was like an inner turmoil happening. But I think I catch myself now more often and I'm not afraid to talk about being Black, to talk about my experience. Because I've had a lot, even as a young kid, a lot of experiences where the white kids were treating me like I was Black. They were saying like, I can't like you. My mom said we can't like each other because you're Black. Like we're in sorry, take that out. We're in second, third grade when you're like, I like you on the playground. So I had those constant reminders, but it wasn't really explained to me. Mm-hmm. So now being in white spaces, I'm hyper aware, but I'm more so okay with being like, I'm going to talk about the things I'm passionate about, and you're either on this train or you're not. I'm going to care about the things I care about. You're on the train or not. I'm interested to see what happens with our industry when it comes to like the shows we want to do, the people we want to associate with, and see what happens there. But yeah, I think I'm just hyper aware of when I'm in a predominantly white space, even amongst my dear friends, and going like, I wonder if you're thinking about that racist thing that happened.
No, that's so real. That's so real. And I'm actually in a similar space. Well, I guess I'm a step behind you because I'm trying to get to the point where I can feel comfortable speaking about, I don't know, Black things without feeling like I'm hurting someone's feelings or I'm making someone feel uncomfortable or I'm talking about something that is going to cause tension in the room, even though it's a fact in history. It's something that's just inherently a part of who I am. And in no way is it me trying to disrespect that person. It's just me talking about my experience. And why does that automatically make me feel like I'm doing something wrong?
Yes. Like I'm in literally the exact same space because again, like I'm working with children, right? So we've been having a lot of conversations, and I'm having the hyper awareness now that I have been labeled as the safe Black my entire life. I've been labeled as the least threatening Black in the room, so white people feel comfortable around me, whether I feel like I can be the fullness of my Blackness or not. Like they feel comfortable around me, so
that's very relatable
behavior that I have to keep up, right? So now that we're having these conversations more, and I've been given permission to have these conversations, not only with white people, but with white children, I've been having a hard time really figuring out that balance of continuing to be the safe Black so that they feel comfortable with me, but also being so incredibly honest about all of the injustices that happen with us and make them a reality for these children who will have to grow up and deal with similar things, or hopefully a better thing by the time that they realize what it all is,
Yeah. I feel like I've struggled in many spaces, like feeling like I can feel very comfortable. I think it's because like I immigrated to the United States when I was 6 years old. So I'm originally from the Ivory Coast. And so when I moved to the United States, I didn't speak English. And I was in a group called ESOL, like English as a second language. So I was surrounded by mostly international people. And so I felt comfortable around people who struggled getting into the American culture more than anything. And so I feel most comfortable in a multiracial environment or around people who speak multiple languages, just so that there's like no judgment with that, because I found that even in white spaces and predominantly Black spaces, I found that I was like, oh, the African girl, like, oh, she's from Africa, like, and so people were always asking me questions about stuff like that. And so and even with religion, like I grew up Catholic, and a lot of people were Baptists, or, I didn't feel like I fit in, even in spaces with predominantly Black people now, where people are like Baptists and they're like doing the dance. I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to fake it. I don't want to pretend.
I don't know.
Okay. So there's this thing that is so real. I used to do a lot of pageants, right? And I always felt like because I did pageants, I wasn't allowed to say that I want world peace, because that is how I really feel. But I feel like it's such a stereotype that if I say I want world peace, it's not going to be taken seriously, because that's like the typical. Anyway, so in terms of, it's such a journey. In terms of stereotypes, do you guys ever feel like because you're Black, if you are in a situation that is tension filled, that you have to take the high road so that you're not stereotypically labeled as, you'd already know.
Angry.
Yep.
Yeah. Again, I'm on a journey of like starting to care a little bit less about that. And because I think in these rehearsal rooms, when we get back, there's no accepting like the racist things going on,
Absolutely.
Not meaning we're all coming in like, here we go. Like,
here we go.
But there's just no, I don't know. I know I don't have it in me. I don't
tolerance level.
Yeah, that I don't have it in me to worry about if this is going to come across as angry or disrespectful. I'm of course going to be, because I'm a professional, but I'm going to talk to you for real. Like, no, you can't touch my hair, especially without asking. No, like the little things that would happen. We need to make sure we're advocating for ourselves and like talking about if there is Black hair and Black wigs happening in this production, there needs to be people that know what they're talking about. It would be great if that person was a Black woman.
Right.
I'm not saying white people don't know what they're talking about when it comes to our hair, but it'd be great if it could be a Black person. I think I'm just caring a little bit less about other people's feelings because I've done that for so long. I stopped caring about my own. So I'm in my journey of switching.
Isn't that amazing how you end up losing yourself when you're so focused on what everyone else is?
Yeah.
What's happening with everybody else? It's like, no, let me get this right. And I think also going back into these rehearsal rooms and these creative spaces, we as the Black people going into these spaces have to make sure that we are educated, that we continue to have conversations like we're having right now, which is why I think this podcast is so wonderful, Salisha, because it is a safe space for Black people to come and have these conversations, but then it's getting broadcasted to the world because most people don't get access to this unless you have this melanin,
Wow.
And understanding each other's experiences too. Like that everyone's is different, but it doesn't make anyone less Black, Like that's what I just loved about this last 30 minutes. It's just been nice. Sorry. I just had to say that.
Yeah.
I know.
It's important for us as Black people to understand each other's stories and perspectives. So we shouldn't be butting heads. None of us should be, but especially us,
Right. Right.
We've been shouting for the past few months, like, Black people are not a monolith. But unless we go back in these rehearsal rooms as not a monolith, then it won't be worth it.
Right.
That's real.
Right. Okay. I have a question just because I just need to know how to I need help with this. And that is, okay, when it comes, oh gosh, y'all, I'm not trying to get myself in trouble. All right. Supporting Black business.
Yes.
I'm all for it, obviously. But can somebody help me what do I do to get over this mental hurdle when, gosh, y'all, don't be mad at me for asking this. I want to support Black business, but it's usually more expensive and it takes longer to get to me.
You do it anyway. Period. And I don't know. I am just the strongest advocate on this as I possibly can be, and I have been for
Bring it on.
a very long time, even before it started trending. You do it anyway because statistics say that in Asian communities, the Asian dollar can stay in that community for up to 28 days. Okay? In Black communities, it's 6 hours.
Oh!
We are more likely than any other group of people to take our dollars and put them into other communities. If we have patience with each other and make the commitment to build up our communities, even though it will take longer and be more expensive, it will not be that way always if we make the commitment.
Yeah.
So you have to make the commitment.
And leave a review.
And leave a review. and don't leave a bad review on purpose just because you had a bad experience. There is nothing wrong with giving critical feedback to our brothers and sisters in order for us to build our communities better. We do have the power to do that on our own. We just have to use it. And that's going to take some patience.
And there's also usually the option of you can do a public review or you can send a private message. Go ahead, Jessie. Sorry to interrupt.
No, I was just saying patience. I think because it won't be like this. It won't be like that forever. It won't take as long forever. I went so much as to like when I wanted to buy Barack's book, I know that I could get it for $20 on Amazon, but I'm going to pay the $40 and support this bookstore in the Bronx. And I'm going to get it later than everybody, but it's okay.
I know.
What a great book to do that with.
You know what I mean? But that's what, but it does. It takes the extra effort, but eventually it won't if we do this now. Eventually my kids won't have to think about, let me search on Black owned. It'll just be like, oh yeah, we know where this is, where that is. Or they're owning the biggest thing that everyone's going to, you know. Be careful with your hair products because some of these hair products are Black owned, but the CEO is white. And I'm like, I'd rather support the Black people that are doing it.
I'm so glad I asked because I needed this encouragement. And I hope if there's somebody who's listening who was battling with the same thing that... Because that's what I needed to hear. The Black dollar stays in our community for 6 hours.
Not even a day. Not even half a day. Literally a quarter of a day.
Do this math, please, TyNia.
And that's because, like, it came in the morning. And so by the time they get up and get dressed, we get up and get dressed. I'm like, where am I?
Shut up. It came in the morning. No.
Dropped at 7 a.m. I was still asleep.
Right.
You guys, I love you so much. Like, I feel like so fulfilled and just like, I wish that we were together again in the same dressing room. I used to say it, and I was dooming myself while I was saying it. While we were at Beautiful, I was not sure for how long. We were like years, and I'm like, man, I have a feeling one day I'm going to look back, and these are going to be the good old days.
You spoke too soon.
I spoke too soon. Before I let you guys go, I do want to know what everyone's love languages are, just because I just love love. I'll go first. Mine's all of them.
Mine is quality time. I love spending quality time with people that I care about one-on-one and just really getting to talk nice and deep and that makes me feel loved.
I have 2. I think my giving love language is gifts. And I think my receiving love language is physical touch.
Physical touch, yes. Yes. That's real.
I'm quality time, 100%. With friendships, my husband, family, anyone that takes a second to spend some time with me. And I love doing that as well.
Same, quality time.
For me, words of affirmation and acts of service. They're pretty tied.
Y'all, this is so real. I'm like, Valentine's Day is like, we're here. It's now. And I mean, honestly, like when it comes to the holidays, I'm like, I love gift giving. And by gift giving, I mean gift receiving. So hello.
Wait, Salisha, before we end, could I ask you a question? because I'm curious about your answer. I was thinking as we were all answering, I'm like, I want to know your answer to these. But specifically in the white spaces, do you feel like you can be yourself?
I was thinking about this the other day, and I experienced that I was able to be myself for the first time, like a month ago. And I realized that I'd never felt that before. And it made me feel like, oh, when I come to these meetings, I really can be myself. I don't have to be the blackest version of myself, and I don't have to whiteify myself. I can literally just, they like me when I am me. What? It was so cool. And I thought about, like, what would that be like if I was just me all the time? Can you imagine, you guys, like one day accepting a Tony Award and not being like, I'd like to thank God and the Academy, but being like, oh my gosh, you guys, this is crazy, right?
To me, Salisha, you are always your most like truest self. Like to me, I feel like in any space, but I'm not like in.
But also, when you're around, that means I'm not the only Black person around.
Right. That's a good point.
Period. Like that is a real thing. So, yeah, that's how I feel.
I love that for you, Salisha. It's so beautiful, and I'm glad you had that experience. And I feel like this seems like such like basic concepts, but it can be hard sometimes. That mental gymnastics is crazy, but I'm so happy that you're going on that journey.
The goal is for all of us to be able to be ourselves and to not. Code switching is so exhausting. And sometimes I forget what room I'm in and I do the wrong one. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you don't know what a heifer is. Oh, Lord, they weren't ready for that. I'm like, oh my goodness. Then if I go around my family and I'm like, hello, everybody, how you doing? My grandma's like, what? I have to slow it down and draw it out and take some words out for her to understand what I'm saying. I'm like, oh, Lord. Okay. Well, you guys, thank you for joining me. Happy Valentine's Day. Happy Black History Month. Just so much love. I have so much love.
Right back at you.
Yeah.
Right back at all of you.
Yeah, good seeing your faces.
I love you guys. Thank you guys for joining. Wow.
Stay tuned for some questions with Ashley De La Rosa and Brittney Johnson.
You guys, why is representation important? Why does it matter?
I mean, for a myriad of reasons, and one being that us three are on a Zoom call right now talking about like treating ourselves as Black women and how what we do to take care of ourselves, like on a podcast that's going to be listened to by people who don't look like us and don't sound like us. And I mean, that is the bare minimum of why representation is important. Like it opens so many doors for people like us, and it just allows for people who will come after us to find their space on stage. And I'm sure that Brittney has experienced this, and I'm sure you've also experienced it, Salisha, like just being on that stage and going out on the stage to the stage door afterwards and hearing young people talk about, or their parents say, you know, my daughter, my son, even they love theater, but they just don't think that there's a place for them. And they see you up there and like, they're like, they know that they have a place. Wow.
And I think that is extremely, extremely powerful. And that's a responsibility that we as actors of color don't necessarily ask for, but we have it all the same. And it is just like one of the greatest treasures and things that I hold it so dear to my heart, because I know how important it is. Because it took me a really long time to think that I could do theater or do television. And it wasn't until I saw someone who looked like me or sounded like me. It wasn't until I listened to In the Heights that I was like, oh my gosh, they're Dominicans. Like, I'm Dominican, you know, like, so it just, I can remember that exact moment. And I know a lot of young
Black and brown people can remember the exact moment where they saw space created for them. Soapbox.
Beautiful.
I'm off the soapbox now.
Brittney? No, that's honestly, I'm like, yes,
to all of that. Literally, yes to every single thing that you said, including that In the Heights was the moment when I actually believed that there was a space for me. Because I saw just people existing, being brown, telling stories. It wasn't anything that was, I mean, it was obviously it was culturally specific, but it wasn't like history, it wasn't like, let's carry the burden of slavery on our back and tell this story again. It wasn't that. It was like, these are people, human beings as we exist now, telling a story that is relevant to people that are brown, but also people who aren't. And that, I think, is, in addition to everything that you said, what is important about representation is that it encourages empathy for whoever is being portrayed in other people. Because if you can see a story being told by someone that does not look like you, that you can relate to, then when you go out into the world and you see people that don't look like you, you can imagine that maybe they are experiencing some of the same struggles and some of this, they have the capability to experience the same triumphs.
Right.
It just makes space in people's minds that other people can lead their own stories too, that they aren't always just your accomplice, your best friend. We have stories to tell too.
Have either of you ever entered a room, a predominantly white room? Ooh, I'm nervous to ask this. And felt that you could be your true, authentic selves without any code switching, without just being like, you can just totally just be yourself. And there's not a lot of people who look like you in that room.
I think my honest answer is no.
Yeah. Honestly, not yet. It's the closest thing I've gotten to is being around the Puerto Rican side of my family, because they're white, they're Puerto Rican. And I feel like when I go over there, when I go to the Dominican Republic, like, it's different. Like, there are white people there, but they're Dominican or they're Puerto Rican. And I'm just like, oh, it's not the same. Like, there's that. And not to say that racism doesn't exist within the Latinx community and there isn't like colorism there. There totally is. It's insane even. But, and not saying that it doesn't exist with my Puerto Rican side of my family either, because it does. But that's definitely the closest. And I think maybe I felt comfortable because we are related. But,
right.
I think I'm sorry.
Go on, please, Brittney.
I was going to say, since the pandemic, since all of these conversations that are now being had, and since specifically white people are starting to ask questions of themselves, some people that are actually doing that work for themselves. And I'm very, very, very lucky that some. Right. So, and I do feel very, very lucky that my friends are of those kinds of people that are asking those questions. Right. And so when I am interacting with my friends and I am the only person of color, which happens all the time, I do actually feel more free than maybe I would have at the beginning of this pandemic to now be completely authentic. And hopefully they feel comfortable to ask questions if things come up. Like, I don't want you to ask me something that you can Google and you can do the research on your own. Right. But if there's something that you genuinely want to know, and you feel like in another situation you might be canceled for it, or whatever. Right. Cancel culture is real in these streets these days.
Yeah, honey.
I feel comfortable enough because I know that they're doing the work. And so I feel free to be myself. And they answer questions. I have questions too. So it's nice to be in an environment that is a judgment-free zone. I feel very lucky that my friends are that way.
Okay, so all right, this next question, oh gosh, okay, this is another hard one for me. What would make you feel seen? The question is, what makes you feel seen? But really what I'm asking is, if American Theater was asking you, what can we do for you, Brittney? What can we do for you specifically, Ashley, to make you feel very welcome here in this show or in this gig? It can be something huge. It can be something little, like black bobby pins. I don't know. Edge control. Like, is there anything that you can think of that would be like, oh, that would be nice?
I want it in writing. I want it in the contract. I want the promise of accountability by an outside source. Whether, it be Broadway for Racial Justice or a different organization. I want it in writing, and I want it to be upheld by the producers, by the entire creative team, and by everyone in the building. So that as an actor of color, if I feel uncomfortable, if other people feel uncomfortable, there's a chain of command that we can go up the line to, instead of just emailing one person in the diversity and inclusion department at Equity who I didn't know existed before the pandemic. So that says,
wait,
yeah.
What?
Yes.
We have
that. Her name is Bliss.
They're like, we gonna keep you a secret.
Yeah, she is only one person, and she is one person for a reason, and she is kept a secret for a reason, and she can only do so much. But those emails that you get about the diversity inclusion webinars and seminars, and I don't know if you get those emails from Equity saying register here for this Zoom link. Yeah, some people don't get them. No. I have friends who aren't on that list somehow. Yeah, but that's like her department. That's what she does. She's a Black woman. She's a lawyer. And even with that department, there are blind spots, of course. But I need it. I need it in writing. We have to play the same game. Producers love things in writing. Like, put it in the contract.
Man. How about you, Brittney?
Wow. I honestly don't know. I don't know what would make me feel. I have no idea, because I feel like I have assimilated and adjusted and so much that I don't even know what it would look like to have something that was made for me specifically because it's me.
Mm-hmm.
I
know what you're saying.
A way to make things work. Even when you're talking about like bobby pins and wig, I was thinking like wig caps. I was like, the amount of times that I have, one, gone out of my own pocket, or created something out of what they had to try to protect my edges, to try to get my wig prep in a way that they were comfortable with, that like I have adjusted all of those things. So to the point where I don't even know what I would naturally do. I know what I would do to fit, but I don't know what is authentic to me.
Wow, we've got so much unlearning to do.
Yeah.
So much. Like literally, I just asked you guys this question. Have you ever been able to be your true selves? Because honestly, I just experienced for the first time very recently me being in a white space and me getting to be exactly who I am. And it felt so good. It felt so liberating. And I realized I had never experienced it before. When I go to my meetings for the Broadway Podcast Network, they're like, be yourself. Just be yourself. Like, they're like literally like encouraging. I'm like, and doing like voiceover stuff. I'm like, do you need me to sound a little bit more, what's the word? Mainstream? They're like, absolutely not. Like literally, I'm like asking them, do you need me to, I'm so used to like what you're saying, Brittney. Like, how white do you need me to sound for this recording? That is insane. That is insane. That like, that's
where my brain goes. And they're like, please, however you would say it, period. Whatever that means. I'm like,
and then relearning now, well, how would I say it? Because I have those moments now, like with voiceovers, like you said, where I get something and it's very clear they say they want an African-American person to say it. And so then I'm like, well, okay, what kind of African-American are you asking for?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, what do I, but I still feel stuck.
I feel stuck. Oh my gosh. It's so real. Wow.
It's hard. Well,
it's
hard.
hard.
That is tough. Yeah. And I think that
I'm not alone in this. Wow.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that there will be like a space when we eventually do get back to work there. I'm hoping that there will be a space and that people are going to be looking to people like us and saying, what do you want? How do you, and we've got to be ready with those answers. I mean, we don't have to do anything, but like taking this time to discover, like to unlearn and to discover naturally what we want, what we need. And it's one thing to feel seen, but like, it's another to be respected because we've always been seen. People have always seen us. We've always been in those rooms, but we've never been acknowledged and we've never been respected. And like, I don't want to be seen anymore. I want to be heard. I want to be listened to, and I want to make decisions. So it's up to us to come back with them and say, this is what is going to make me feel comfortable. And this is also what's going to make this show and this experience authentic.
Agreed. And even with that also, because I agree, I'm going to add that I need it in my contract. Not only do I need it in the contract, I need to know exactly what the repercussions are for when this contract is broken so that I can hold you accountable when you do or do not.
Yes, Brittney. Yes,
Brittney. That's the problem is that you say, even with sexual harassment, with all different kinds of things, it's like you say that this isn't tolerated, but I don't ever see the punishment for it. And it might be that if people knew what the consequence was, people would actually think before they say things or do things. Like it would add just another level of personal accountability, which I think is a huge thing that's missing. The theater is an incredibly safe environment. It's usually, but it's an environment where we all feel generally free. But the problem is when you are already a part of a marginalized community and then you have the majority and they feel free to also harass and attack you in ways that that's not, but I'm not being racist. I'm being fun. I love you. You know, I love you. And it's inappropriate.
Right.
And we haven't had people that we can go to because usually the people that are in charge are white. So I had no idea that there was a diversity department at Equity. I had no idea there was someone I could call.
Yeah.
I didn't either. I'm so glad that you said that, Ashley. You guys, I am about to wrap up and I'm like, we could talk about this for a couple of hours and get down to the bottom of things. I'm like, oh my freaking goodness. But my last question for you guys, to me is like a fun one because since you both made Broadway history, who do you guys look up to in Black history, whether on Broadway or just in life, that you like, if you could just go to dinner and a show with one person in Black history, who would it be? What show would you see?
Oh my gosh, that's so hard.
Ooh, I would say in the performing arts world, Viola Davis, because ever since she said that she's like, you know, that interview that she's like, I have all of these things and I'm like they keep saying like the next Black Meryl Streep, but like I'm not, you know, she like called it out, like the difference. Yes. Yeah. And I was like, oh yeah, that's so true. You've been in everything. But you definitely don't make as much money as Meryl. You definitely aren't getting as many awards as Meryl. Like, so I definitely want to meet with her. And what show will we see? gosh, I don't even remember what's on.
I know, you're like, let's see Lion King.
Oh my God. I don't know. I feel like maybe we would see, it might end up being a play because I feel like she is very, you know, she can dissect anything. So I gotta put like my big girl brain on and watch something like, but yeah. Or if we don't see a play, then we're definitely going to see 6 because I want to see 6 and I think she would like 6.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect. How about you, Brittney?
Viola is a great one. That interview. First of all, why does she have to be compared to Meryl at all? Why can't Meryl be the white Viola Davis? Why are we always being compared on the other side of it? Can we just exist, please?
Mm-hmm.
So yes. It's Audra. It's always Audra for me. It's always her. She just everything about her existence. Like she just
makes you want to cry, right?
It does. And I remember the very first Broadway show I saw on Broadway was 110 in the Shade. And so I was like, oh, she's just, and that voice, like I'd never heard somebody brown sing like that. And like, that's how I was trained. And so that's how I was like, I can do that. Like people aren't just going to want to hear me do like the other stuff. And it took me a while, even professionally, to get to sing like that. Like they did.
You do. That is what you do. One of the things that you do.
Right. And I will never forget the first time that I breathed air with her. She doesn't remember because why would she? But it was during Les Mis because Will was in Les Mis, her husband. And I remember she just like came by between shows one time.
Oh my gosh!
Just to like I guess spend some time with him because like they're married, so of course. But I remember somebody came in and was like, "Audra's in the building," and I was like, what? She's in this building right now. And I am not ashamed to say that I walked around the whole building looking for her. And when I finally found her, she was in a conversation with somebody else. And I just kind of stood there and I was like, she's there and I'm here and we're together. And then I left.
Oh, so you literally only breathe the same air as her?
Truly.
I love it.
I didn't even talk to her.
Get out of here.
I was not going to like, I'm like crying thinking about it. Like, I was not going to interrupt like royalty. Like she was having a conversation. So
this is amazing. And I won't even get into it because I can talk about Audra all day. Like literally, I know what Billie Holiday sounds like because I saw Audra's performance of Billie Holiday. I'm like, brilliant. It was brilliant. Like yeah, okay. My heart is overjoyed, and I'm like also now like just so in love with Audra as well as Viola Davis, like our girls. Yes. You guys, thank you for joining me. You have so much love behind the words that you say, and so much depth and insight, and I'm just grateful to know people who are so good at what they do and who are also just genuine people. And also seeing that you guys have so much in common, I'm like, I want to have stuff in common too. Oh my gosh. Like, I wasn't beautiful. You're beautiful. That's all. I love you both.
I like dancing heels because Lord knows I didn't.
Same.
Still can't do that. I was like,
can.
I don't know. You guys, thank you so much. Happy Valentine's Day. Happy Black History Month.
Happy Valentine's Day. Yes. Happy Black History Month. You are Black History. Thank you for existing.
Yes.
Black girl magic. Thanks, guys.